This video covers the gross domestic product, or GDP, one of the key macroeconomic indicators. It is a measure of aggregate output or total income, which we use to gauge economic performance in a given country. GDP reflects how much a country produces in a given year. Let's see how to calculate GDP. Assume there is a country with only two firms. Firm 1 produces steel while Firm 2 produces cars. The sales from Firm 1 and Firm 2 are £100 and £200 respectively. To make steel and cars, Firm 1 spends £80 and Firm 2 spends £170. These figures represent the expenses of both firms on inputs such as raw material and labor. Let's look at these expenses. Both firms need to hire workers for whom the first firm pays £80 and the second firm pays £70. These figures describe the cost of labor or wages. To produce cars, Firm 2 needs steel, which costs £100. Now let's see how much profit each firm makes. You need to subtract revenue from sales minus expenses. For Firm 1, this would be £100 from sales minus £80 expenses, which gives £20 of profits. Firm 2 makes £30 profit, which is the £200 revenues minus the £170 cost. If these two firms represent aggregate output in our example country, how much would GDP or the aggregate output be in this case? Is it the sum of the values of all goods produced, which in our example would be £300, or just the value of cars? Notice that steel is an intermediate good used in the production of cars. Now let's define GDP. It is the value of final goods and services produced in an economy during a given period. We need to count final goods only, implying that you should exclude intermediate goods. Now that we have defined what GDP is, let's turn back to our example. Merging both firms into a single firm would help us to see the value of final goods. Notice here that the revenue from sales in the merged firm is £200 only. Why is that? Firm 1 sold £100 worth of steel, while Firm 2 sold cars for £200. The value of these cars, the £200, already includes steel bought for £100. So in total, the value of all final products in this hypothetical economy is £200, not £300. That is the GDP in this economy, which is £200. If we add the sales of £100 of steel to the £200 of cars, that will imply double counting the value of steel because we already counted for this in the car's value. So always remember to exclude intermediate goods when calculating the value of GDP. In other words, GDP counts only for the final goods, not intermediate goods. Again, this is to avoid double counting the value of intermediate goods already included in the value of final goods. Therefore, we could also think of GDP as the sum of value added in an economy during a given period. In our example, that would be £100 value added in Firm 1 plus £100 value added in Firm 2. That is assuming that Firm 1 did not need to buy raw material from another firm, meaning the value added for Firm 1 is the same as their sales. However, with Firm 2, we know they produced £200 worth of cars, but they also used £100 cost of steel. That makes their value added £100, which is £200 sales minus £100 steel. Besides the value added approach, One can calculate the GDP from the income side by adding up all income in an economy during a given period. Remember, GDP is aggregate output, which is also the total income in a society. The aggregate production and aggregate income are always equal. Referring to our example, incomes in this example country are wages and profits, which adds up to £200, the same GDP value we obtained using the value-added approach. In a more realistic economy, this could work the same way. We count for the value of final products, sum the value added of all products, or add all incomes up to calculate GDP in an economy during a given period. In addition to the output and income approaches, one can calculate GDP following the expenditures approach. This approach calculates GDP by evaluating the sum of all final goods and services purchased in an economy. It simply adds up consumption expenditures, investment, government spending, and net exports, or exports minus imports. Remember, all these three methods of calculating GDP, output, income, or expenditure approach, should give the same value for GDP. They are all three different ways to calculate the same indicator and should not lead to different calculations, assuming no omissions or measurement errors. Now let's think more about how we calculate the value of final products to calculate GDP. The value of any product includes the quantity produced multiplied by its market price. That is called nominal GDP, which is the quantity produced of goods and services at current prices. When nominal GDP increases, that could be because of an increase in the amount produced, or an increase in the price, or both. However, when using GDP to gauge economic performance, we would want to know how much output has changed, not the prices, meaning excluding the effect of price changes. That is the real GDP, is the sum of quantities produced at constant or fixed prices. Let's have an example of nominal and real GDP. This table shows the number of cars produced over 3 years and the associated prices. To calculate nominal GDP, you multiply the number of cars in a given year with cars' price on that year. For example, nominal GDP in 2008 would be 10 cars times £20,000 per car, which equals £200,000. Doing the same for the years 2009 and 2010 would show that nominal GDP has increased to 288,000 in 2009 and then to £338,000 in 2010. But do these figures reflect exactly how output has changed between 2008 and 2010? Note that while production, or the number of cars produced, has increased over these 3 years, cars' prices have also increased. To exclude the effect of price increases and measure how much output has changed, we use real GDP. How do we do that? You fix the prices to, let's say, the prices of 2009. So for each year, we will calculate GDP using the quantity produced in that year multiplied by the prices of 2009. That is real GDP in 2009 pounds. Notice here, while real GDP has increased between 2008 and 2010, but not as much as the nominal GDP because we excluded price changes. Notice that nominal GDP equals real GDP in 2009 pounds. That is in the year 2009. Here is another example of nominal and real GDP in 2009 dollars for the US between 1960 and 2014. The red line shows the real GDP in billions of 2009 dollars, It means we multiplied the quantity of output every year between 1960 and 2014 by the prices of 2009. The blue line represents the nominal GDP in billions of dollars. Notice how both lines cross in 2009 as nominal GDP equals real GDP in 2009 only because we use the prices of 2009 to calculate real GDP. 2009 here is the base year. We can think of real GDP as an inflation-adjusted measure that reflects output produced by an economy in a given year, with prices held constant from year to year to separate out the impact of inflation or deflation from the trend in output over time. A few more points to consider before we conclude this video. How could we use GDP to compare economic performance across countries considering different currencies and living standards? We usually use GDP purchasing power parity or PPP, which accounts for differences in local prices and living costs. According to PPP, two currencies are in equilibrium when a basket of goods is priced the same in both countries, taking into account the exchange rate. For example, if a burger is selling in London for £2 and in New York for $4, this will imply a PPP exchange rate of £1 to $2. Another point to notice is that the GDP growth rate compares 1 year or quarter of a country's GDP to the previous year or quarter to measure how fast an economy is growing. GDP per capita is a measure of the GDP per person in a country's population, which is GDP divided by the population size. A similar macro indicator is the gross national product, GNP. The main difference is that GDP measures economic activity within the country's physical borders, regardless of nationality. On the other hand, GNP measures the production of economic units, individuals or corporations native to a country, including those who are based abroad. GNP excludes from GDP domestic production by foreigners and adds to GDP production of nationals who live abroad. To conclude this video, we defined GDP and explained 3 different methods for calculating GDP, namely output, income, and expenditure approaches. We explained the difference between nominal and real GDP. We also covered GDP per capita, GDP growth, and GNP. Finally, note that GDP ignores informal or unrecorded economic activity and does not consider the overall well-being or adverse impact on the environment. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching and see you next video.